What it do, Dream Team? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction video, and we are back with the Chaotic Traveler. Love his content. Here we are with Reverse Culture Shocks, back from down under after 2 years. Before we dive into this video, listen to his Reverse Culture Shocks. If you guys happen to enjoy it, please don't forget to subscribe or get a video a thumbs up. Let's dive right in.
This is I felt like, oh yeah, I'm back in Germany now. Ridiculous. Boy, I tell you, that was the most devastating thing that I've realized. This is probably what I miss about New Zealand and Australia the most at the moment. Hello my friends, it's been a while. As you can tell by the video title, yes, I'm back home in Germany. After traveling Australia and New Zealand for about 2 years, at long last, I'm finally back. A lot of you guys wrote some comments in some of my older videos. Oh, once you go back to Germany, you will be having culture shock or whatever. And yeah, now I finally get to do this video. And this is going to be very exciting. So I don't want to compare Germany to just Australia or just New Zealand. I kind of have one big experience from Australia and New Zealand, so I just kind of summarize that with Down Under. So in this video I would like to tell you the story of the very first day that I've had back here in Germany. As we proceed in the story and I tell you about my day, I will point out a few things that were quite surprising to me. So after a 28-hour long flight, that was kind of the first thing that I've noticed, how incredibly far New Zealand and Australia are away.
God, I'm just imagining being on a flight for 28 hours. My dad, a full day. Just sitting down in the air.
From Germany, 28 hours. Jesus, and that was like the quickest flight that you could find. I landed in Munich airport and my best friend picked me up from there, brought me home, and it was in the afternoon already, so that wasn't really my first day. I went to bed. I said hello to my family, which was really nice, very surprising to my mom because she didn't know that I was coming. So essentially I went to bed. I mean, I was jet lagged. I just landed from a 28-hour flight. Then I woke up in the morning at about 4 a.m. So I didn't really know what to do. Everyone was still asleep, so I just decided to take a walk to town, which is about a 20-minute walk from where my mom lives. And the first thing that I came across was a bakery. I noticed, and I have never noticed that before, that every single table outside that bakery had an ashtray on it. As I continued, I saw many bakeries, many cafes, many restaurants, and all of them that had an outside area, they would have ashtrays on every single table. Furthermore, I would notice that every public rubbish bin would have an ashtray integrated in them as well. So Germany is very friendly to smokers. When you go to a petrol station, there is a big wall of cigarettes behind the vendor. Everything the smokers wants. There are even a few TVs running advertisements for cigarettes. Later that day, when the city was a bit more crowded, I would notice that at least every 4th or 5th person would have a cigarette in their hands. And that was really shocking to me. I've never noticed how many people would smoke in Germany. In Australia and New Zealand, smoking is so incredibly expensive that just very few people smoke. So the anti-smoke politics of Australia and New Zealand, by making tobacco just ridiculously expensive, seems to be paying off. Because I didn't really see a lot of people smoke in Australia and New Zealand, where in Germany it seems to be the most normal thing. So yeah, that was a big shock for me when I realized how smoky Germany was. Well, I moved.
Yeah, so that was the first shock I feel like he realized. And I think there's so many things in your country that you don't really realize until you go to another country. And for him, it was 2 years. He was in New Zealand and Australia and then coming back. And then he recognized, like, wow, like, Germany is very smoker friendly. But beforehand, I didn't really recognize this until I lived in Australia, New Zealand, where smoking is a very expensive thing to do, so there's not much smokers out there, and you realize how much smokers are actually in Germany, to the point where you got ashtrays on the cafe, on every cafe that has an outside area, ashtrays connected to the receptacle, cigarettes and everything, and convenience stores right behind the person. I honestly thought that was everywhere, like, because I guess I'm so used to the U.S. cigarettes are always in convenience store right behind the cashier, so I thought that was how it was everywhere, but I guess maybe not. But That's very interesting to notice. That I guess he hadn't picked up before.
Shock for me when I realized how smoky Germany was. Well, I moved on and I arrived at a crossing with lights, right? Traffic lights, pedestrian lights. And it was still very early in the morning. It was like, I don't know, 5:50 maybe, close to 6 a.m. So there weren't any cars. There was no traffic at all. But there was one couple. They were coming towards me. They wanted to cross the streets towards me, and I wanted to cross the streets in their direction. But the pedestrian lights were red, and obviously we waited, even though there was no car inside. There was no car, like you couldn't even hear a car, you couldn't hear any traffic at all. The city was dead. In Germany, you don't jump the pedestrian lights. You just don't do that. At least not when there are other people. If I was alone, I would have probably just jumped the lights, and if they were alone, they would have probably jumped the lights as well. But when you see someone else observing you, it's like, yeah, you don't want to be the first to be the outlaw to jump the lights, so we just wait, even though there is no traffic at all. So that's really a big thing in Germany. Whenever you hear, don't jump the lights, people will throw very weird looks at you when you jump pedestrian lights, even though there is no car inside. You just don't do that. Yeah, Germans are very obedient when it comes to the law.
Yeah.
So the lights turn.
I react to multiple German videos where, of course, I've heard this about how Germany is with the law and how like the obedience situation and everything. But yeah, they don't cross the lights. When that light red, it don't matter if it's not a car in sight. They not crossing that crosswalk until it's go green. As an American, that is completely not how it is. Even if we can see the cars coming, but in our heads, it's like, I think we can get across in time. We'll get across in time before this car gets to us. We usually go. We'll go for it. Now, I think Germany's way is a lot safer. And I would preach that way to any kids or to any people in general. Yes, wait for them lights because that's a lot safer. It's just American in me. Usually, when I see no cars, I just run across the street. But let's continue.
Turned green. I crossed the road. They crossed the road, and I was trying to make eye contact because obviously I want to talk to people. I want to say hello. I want to say good morning. So I desperately try to make eye contact, but they desperately tried not to make eye contact. Yeah, that was a bit weird. I mean, in Australia, when you're in Sydney and there is millions of people on the streets, you don't say hello to everyone. But as I said, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. There was like no one else, and I thought that a good morning would have been appropriate. We don't talk to each other, really, over here.
Oh.
Not that much. I went to a bakery and I got a coffee. And boy, I tell you, that was the most devastating thing that I've realized, that we do not have good coffee in Germany. We do not have any baristas in Germany. When you go to whatever breakfast place and you order a coffee, there is a coffee machine. There are a few buttons on them. One says cappuccino, one says cafe latte, one says whatever, and you just press the button and the coffee machine just makes the coffee.
Okay.
There is no barista. I mean, I have been back for about 1.5 months now, and I haven't seen a single barista, and I bought quite a few coffees because I am a coffee lover.
Yeah.
But you would have to go to a coffee dedicated place, like a coffee shop that sells millions of different coffee beans and whatever. They would probably have barista made coffee, but anywhere else. And this is probably what I miss about New Zealand and Australia the most at the moment, is great coffee. I finished my coffee.
That's tough because that's one of the things that I feel like most travelers that ever travel to Australia, visit Australia, say. I'm not sure about New Zealand. I'm just going to assume it's the same. The coffee culture there is just the best in the world. Like, you can find great coffee at so many different places. Like, just walk. It's an incredible coffee culture they have there. And you hear that when so many people like return home, coffee just, it ain't good. It ain't good. I'm not a coffee drinker, but if I was, I'd be nervous about going to Australia and trying coffee. I want to try it. I want to give it a shot, but at the same time, I know that once I take a drink of that coffee, I'm going to come back home and be very disappointed by coffee. And I got to live here. So I don't want to live in a place where I'm just always craving that Australian coffee and always disappointed by the coffee back home. And that's what it sounds like his experience has been. And also the eye contact thing. Y'all see that in different German videos as well, as they're not like as social or friendly. Like, it's harder to make friends with the German, but they say once you do become friends, like, it's like serious. Like, it's a very, very strong bond. It's real. There's no fakeness about it. None of that. Like, y'all friendship, dang near family. But let's dive in.
I went out the bakery again. By that time, the streets started to get a little bit more crowded. And one thing that I've noticed on the streets was that there are so many expensive cars driving on our roads. It felt like every 10th car that I saw was a Porsche.
Dang,
every 5th car that I
nice.
saw was a brand new BMW. Every 3rd car that I saw was a new Mercedes.
Ooh,
It's just
I want
incredible how much money Germans spend on their cars. I mean, yeah, we are a car-making country, and it's kind of obvious that people like cars over here, especially because we have the Autobahn where you can just drive as fast as you want. So yeah, we are a very car-driven culture. Was that a good joke? Probably not. Doesn't really matter. I've never noticed that there were so many expensive sports cars on our roads. That was a bit surprising. As I continued my walk through the town, I came across a phone shop. I felt like, oh yeah, I should get a German SIM card because I just didn't have a German phone number at the time. So I went inside, I talked to the guy, I told him what I want, mobile data, whatever. And he did make some sort of mistake. He didn't really know what to do, so he called the customer service hotline for employees and asked what we can do about that. And they told him, as he told me, that he would, and this is, I felt like, oh yeah, I'm back in Germany now. He told me that he would have to send these guys a fax. Do you even know what a fax is? We're still using fax machines in Germany. So he would have to send them a fax. They would have to sign whatever and send it back via mail, like physically. And he would, whatever, it would take a week. And I felt like, oh yeah, I'm back in Germany. I'm back in the country with the worst paper-driven bureaucracy in the world. It's like for a SIM card, of course we didn't do that. He just kind of threw that SIM card away and just gave me a new one, and he did something differently and it worked out in the end. Ridiculous, but yeah, that's German bureaucracy, and it will probably not change in the future. So it finally worked out.
I feel like I have heard a lot of complaints about like the German bureaucracy and the process. It just takes much longer for things to get done. I've heard from people processes take much longer, and that's what I've seen from multiple videos. So Germany, it's not me insulting, it's just me presenting something that I've seen in multiple videos, people complaining about German bureaucracy. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
I got my German phone number, I walked out the shop, and one thing that I've noticed then, I mean, I've noticed that all the time already, but it was later that day, so it was around noon maybe by the time, and it is summer here in Germany. And the funny thing is that when it comes to German weather, the longer I spent my time in Australia and New Zealand, in my memory, Germany has become grayer and grayer and colder and colder. I knew that was not the case, but for some reason, I don't know, that was what my mind was picturing. So when I come back here in summer, it is so incredibly hot. I completely forgot how high the humidity is here in summer. We have like a few days we had like 35 to 37 degrees, and it's just so humid. You leave the shower and you become sticky again immediately. If it wasn't for the cold winter that we have, we could perfectly grow palm trees or whatever. That was kind of a surprising thing to me as well, even though I knew that we would have hot summers, but I just forgot about that fact. Especially now that I'm living here, as you can probably tell by my sloped wall behind me, I'm living right under the roof, so the heat just really stays in here and it's just super hot. I'm very happy that I have a ceiling fan up there. So, at least as long as I'm up here, as long as I'm in my flat, I do not really miss Australian weather, because I do really have Australian weather up here, to be honest. And I can't wait to finish the video so that I can get rid of my shirt. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed watching the video and you've learned something. If that was the case, please consider subscribing and leave a like. I will see you next time. Goodbye, my friends.
He said I don't gotta miss the German weather, the Australian weather, because it's so hot up here, you feel me, in my flood, that I feel it. I feel it. My guy said I got to go ahead in this video. I'm hot. Shirt got to come off. I got to get comfortable and let this ceiling fan just hit my skin. However, that's all we have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Seeing the differences, I guess, between like moving back from Australia, New Zealand, back to Germany, seeing some of those reverse culture shocks. I always find it interesting when people have reverse culture shocks when they lived in somewhere their entire lives, but then they travel abroad and maybe they're gone for a year or two and they come back to these reverse culture shocks. I always find that very interesting. Let me know what you guys think about the culture shocks that he experienced. Also, if you enjoyed that, don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and check out the next video. It's your boy D-Nia, out.